Good morning, Vietnam! This is Ty, that guy in the sky, coming to you live from amongst these sweaty Vietnamese trees. The GIs often moan that the Navy boys have it better, but make no mistake, it is hot, hot, hot. And I'm talking about a kind of heat that makes your mama's chili feel like ice cream. It's April 13th, 1965, and I wanted to give a big shout out to all the boys and girls off the coast of Vietnam. Whether you're on a ship, boat, dinghy, or life raft, know that you are making history every single day. You are the tip of the spear, cutting through the chaos to keep our mission alive and our brothers supplied. Now let me tell you something about those tenacious Vietnamese. They're pushing into the city like they own the place, but don't be fooled by their ferocity. They're trying to cut off our GIs. They think that if they cut off our food, they can cut through our boys like wet noodle. But they're in for a rude awakening. There is one thing that the good old US of A does best, and that is getting those chicken tendies exactly where they're needed most. Stay cool, stay sharp, and remember, every second counts. Chow waits for no man. You're the best we've got, and the best always comes through.
Ahoy and welcome back to our exclusive early access coverage of Sea Power, coming into a port near you on the 12th of November. I spent the majority of yesterday experimenting with the robust scenario editor, and I've come up with a little treat for us today. We are going to the coast of Vietnam, and we are going to try and get a supply convoy through the dastardly North Vietnamese Navy. Yes, you heard that right, they have a navy, and they're going to do their best to stop the supply of chicken tenders getting through to our stranded GIs. Today's fleet composes of 2 minesweepers, 7 gunboats, 2 Charles F. Adams destroyers, and a couple of auxiliary ships. We do have access to air support, although we have no control over it. The Fleet Air Wing does not deem our experience high enough to give us control of their air assets yet, but that doesn't matter. We will still experience what Sea Power will really offer us in terms of creativity. The community, they have an imagination, and I can't wait to get my hands on some of the scenarios. So let's have a look at the heroes of today's scenario. While we're waiting, do me a favor and confirm your citizenship down below by hitting the like button and leaving me a comment. Today we will be assisted by the PGM-39 gunboat, fitted with 40mm Bofors and dual 50 cal mounts. Minesweeping services are provided by the aggressive class minesweeper, an ocean-going minesweeper capable of 3 different mission sets. Fleet security and AA overwatch will be provided by the Charles F. Adams Early guided missile destroyer, the first class designed to serve as a guided missile destroyer in the US Navy. The vital cargo of chicken tendies will be carried by the Type C-8 lighter aboard ship, a unique system for landing supplies when port facilities are non-existent or limited. Fleet supply and refueling services are provided by the Sacramento class fast combat support ship. Its high top speed allows it to operate with carrier battle groups. The cast is known and the stage is set. Now it's time to jump into the briefing and the operation itself. This is just one of many operations that you can experience here on the channel going forward. The operation has commenced. We are off the coast of Vietnam. Operation Lifeline, commencing 5 AM 13th of April 1968, slight change of date. Escort vital supplies to cut off troops. We have 2 Charles F. Adams destroyers, 7 Vietnamese patrol boats, 2 minesweepers, and 2 marine lift vessels. Our troops have been cut off from supply lines and need immediate relief. You are tasked with escorting a convoy carrying these vital supplies. The convoy includes South Vietnamese patrol boats for additional support. Minesweepers are present to clear underwater threats. The North Vietnamese naval assets are on high alert and are expected to mount significant resistance. Intelligence indicates that they are determined and well armed. Prepare for intense action. North Vietnam has no major fleet assets or subs, but the USSR is showing a major interest in the theatre. Obstacles we will face today are civilian interference. There are civilian fishing boats in the area, and these vessels could complicate navigation. The airspace is open to all traffic, so we must ID all airborne threats. Our rules of engagement: protect the vital supply ships against deadly threats, minimize collateral damage using sensor ID imperative, exercise extreme caution to avoid collateral damage, and confirmed threat ID required for anti-ship missile launch on surface contacts. So we must ensure that it is an enemy ship before we fire. We cannot be throwing harpoons willy-nilly. We also have the RIM 67, which doubles as a surface-to-surface missile in a pinch, much shorter range than the harpoon. The operation will be executed as follows: advance, patrol, engage, and cohesion. Minesweeper will lead the convoy, destroyers will provide escort and defensive coverage. South Vietnamese patrol boats will flank the convoy, providing security and early surface screen. We'll be prepared to engage enemy forces with decisive force, prioritizing the protection of the supply ships while adhering to the rules of engagement. We will also maintain constant communication with convoy elements to coordinate an effective defense. And that is the briefing. Now we must get to action. We have inbound airborne contacts already coming in from 270. And we have very, very sketchy intel on those contacts. They are at 6,000 feet, 372 knots. It looks like we have a possible airliner following what looks to be a fighters. We have no idea what type of fighters. We also have two large fleets. Let's have a look at these contacts here. Based on our best estimates, we have what looks to be fishing boats, possibly Type 148s. We also have possible trawlers or minesweeper, according to our best intel so far. Now we currently have the air search radar on one of our Charles F. Adams on. But the air search radar on the Charles F. Adams is also capable of surface search to a limited degree. So we can pick up some intel, but for now we are keeping our missions under wraps. The lead patrol boat will probably have its surface search on, but the rest of the patrol boats will not. Now we're making a mark here. Just going to measure the heading. Still working out the tools. Get the ruler. Okay. So if we see any deviation in their course compared to the rest of the formation, we'll set that plot up for a couple of these guys. Now, our rules of engagement say we can't just launch missiles at people that we don't know who they are, even if they come within, you know, the limits of our fleet defense. We are passing through hostile waters, so we need to be very careful. Now, I have noticed here that most of the contacts are moving at 7 knots, but two of the contacts, namely 7009, 7009 is traveling 1 knot slower and is giving a different return. Contact 7010 is also slightly different. So we are marking those as different compared to the rest of the contacts on the board. We have our patrol boats here, leading up the formation. Low draft boats. If they do set off a mine, then, you know, that's just how it goes. The minesweeper's real job is to keep the main convoy ships safe. The aggressive class is an ocean-going minesweeper, so it's capable of a number of roles, and I believe it has a wooden hull as well, and a unique engine, which made it, I guess on paper, very resistant to magnetic mines. I don't know too much about the history of the class itself, just the basics. So we're going to head out on an intercept course. We're going to steer clear of this formation here because we have another group of ships coming in. And they look to be in a line abreast formation, which is highly suspicious. So this is looking like an allied fighter. No MiGs. That's a good thing. Turning the air search on the second destroyer now to try and get some better readings. They're getting very close. If they were an aggressor, they would have time to launch their ordnance. And this looks to be an airliner, perhaps. But it is flying fairly low. 6,000 feet is pretty low over an active war zone. So it looks like we have some A7Es returning to the carrier, perhaps, after a sortie. But they are friendly. Take a snapshot of that. Beautiful sight. So our first concern has been alleviated. Friendly fighters. They've taken a swing in their course and they're heading north, due north. Still keeping an eye on this fleet of suspected fishermen. We're going to try and maneuver around them. We don't want to interfere with their course. But we also need to be in a position to react if they are hostile. They are traveling very slow though. We have new radar contacts. Let's have a look at the formation. We'll tidy it up a little bit. I'm going to move the Atoms slightly forward next to the first minesweeper. We are very close. My destroyers are facing on the side of land because that's where we expect any air attacks to come from. We do have naval supremacy. But even when you have naval supremacy, a blue water fleet can be very vulnerable in the littoral zone. The littoral zone. If you know where to find it. It's just off the coast. The A7s heading home. Our next airborne contacts coming in very close. The suspected airliners. The airliners. It's two contacts. And so it's not an airliner. It is a wing of buffs. Rarely seen in video games. I haven't seen many. And there aren't many games where you get to play them or use them actively besides calling in an air support or something like that. One-off shot. Think Command & Conquer superpowers, super weapons. Alright, radar contacts still proceeding as they should. No one's doing anything crazy. We're going to speed up the formation a little bit. We're only doing 8 knots. It's going to take we're going to be late for chow. We want to be at our destination about 50 kilometers north by dinner time. Where all the troops will riot and the city will collapse in a wave of hunger and famine. It's very important that we make it there. I do want to say thank you very much for all the support in the other day's video. I'm very excited for this title, and I'm hoping that the community really delves deep into their passion for naval tactics and creates some amazing scenarios. I did try making another one that was of much grander scale, but I was a little bit too ambitious and the frame rate was horrendous. Absolutely horrendous, but you know, we had massive fleets. I think I filled the Adriatic with ships. Okay, our patrol boats are proceeding. They're all heading at odd speeds. I'm trying to line the formation up here. The ones lagging behind are at flank speed. The ones ahead are at standard ahead. I'm going to break away 2 patrol boats here. And we are just going to enforce an exclusion zone as our fleet moves past. We can also have a good look at what's inside that gaggle of ships. But so far, so good. No aggressors. I like to do all my fighting after 6 AM. Time for some Vegemite toast beforehand. Right, one of the destroyers, we are breaking them away from the main convoy. They are going to assist our gunboats with the enforcement of an exclusion zone. Nothing says stay away like an angry destroyer. And we're going to bring King up to fill the gap that Adams will leave and make sure that our merchant and the Sacramento are secure. Now the Lash ship here is a beautiful ship and a very unique design. The concept was to float barges of supplies where they could be towed inshore or away from shore and loaded onto the ship without having to use those pesky things like called ports. Quite an efficient system used by the Seabees. Anyone that knows the US military would know that the Seabees are invaluable part of the service. Naval Battlefield Engineers. Okay, we are setting up our weapons range so that we know the maximum range of our 40mm. Now the unit card says that the PGM39 has 50 cal mounts, but the card here down the bottom, it says it has 20 mils, and I know that this boat was fitted with a range of weaponry, including the 20 mil Oerlikon cannons, as well as 50 cals. So they have quite an amount of firepower, but in game it says that they only have the 50s. And I think it really depended. They're the sort of boat that they just strapped everything on as they could, as they got their hands on it. Given to many countries under the military assistance program. Okay. So one of our patrol boats will have its surface scan on, the rest will not. Pretty standard tactics for a patrol boat. Right, the Adams is heading up really fast to back up her little cousin ships. The game is beautiful. Single ping on the sonar, just to make sure that everything is safe around us. We aren't inspecting any underwater threats except for mines. Now mines aren't really implemented in the game yet, but it's good for role-playing purposes, and I would like to see mine sweeping as part of the mission set of this game. There are a number of boats already in the game that actually could drop mines themselves. The Libella class torpedo boat for the DDR was able to drop surface sitting mines. 2 of them. The UDM, I think they're called. That would sit on the bottom of the on the seabed and wait for something metal to set off its fuse. And I'm quite fond of using those in War Thunder when I play that game. The Libella class Dragonfly torpedo boat is a great little boat. Okay, so our suspicions have proven true, and the 2 boats that were odd One of them appears to be a gunboat hidden in a mass of sampans. Now that is not very Geneva. Right, we're having a look at the other contacts. They are moving in. They're in a double line abreast formation. That's not suspicious. All that smoke on the horizon too. There is funnel smoke on the horizon. See it? There it is. Okay. We have two gunboats amongst the civilian boats. So this is just a PR nightmare waiting to happen. So we need to use accurate, limited fire to destroy those vessels. And using the gunboats is probably not wise, because we're throwing 40mm shells into that mass of civilians is not going to be good for media relations. But we do have the 5-inch rapid fire gun, and I am hoping that my gunnery teams and the modern fire control system can put the shots where we need them to go and minimize those civilian casualties here. No missiles, especially not a harpoon. A harpoon will pick up whatever radar signature it finds most tasty at the time, including your own boats. Alright, so we neutralized the first of those gunboats really, really quickly. Gunnery team living up to its name. Ceasing fire, make sure we don't just launch everything at them. Keeping weapons tight, self-defense only, and direct orders. Another gunboat here, moving at a leisurely pace, but the jig is up, my friend. Okay, so we can pull away our patrol boats now and leave these civilians alone. We've ID'd everybody, and we are about to neutralize the threat hidden amongst them. And as you can see on the horizon, we have a horizon full of smoke. Those civilian boats weren't letting out smoke. These ones are. What have North Vietnam got their hands on? It looks like they have a torpedo boat, PT boat, and they are now maneuvering. That is a confirmed Soviet boat. No one else but the North Vietnamese will be sailing these things around. So we are weapons free for both of those targets. Identical targets. PT boats. Very dangerous torpedo boats to a Project 183 torpedo boat. They're armed with quad 25mm cannons. So short range, but lots of firepower. And we have launched our first SM-1. We're going to save the rims because we would be firing over our friendly ships. The SM-1s have a higher arc, and I feel more confident that they will not friendly fire anyone. We have hit one successful hit. The Rim 67. Oh, that was a very close one. Very, very close. Alright, so our gunboats are going to now move to intercept. Our gunboats do have the benefit of range. The 40mm Bofors does have significant range over the Soviet 25mm, so we need to leverage that. We have our range circle, so we have a good idea of when we can open fire. The 25mm probably will need to enter the circle about a third of the way to be able to open fire on us. But those boats are very fast, 40 knot boats. There's the buff. We actually totally forgot about the air contact, so I have to make sure I remember to keep checking the sky. SM1 out. Oh, looks like that boat took evasive action. The entire formation has now turned back out to sea. There is a very real possibility they've dumped torpedoes. Now, they're not at the best aspect to hit our convoy, but any torpedoes are still a real threat to all of our ships. Alright, we've just fired our first harpoon, and I'm doing that because our boats are within the minimum range of the harpoon. So in theory, it should go over their heads before it dips down and hits the sea. And we have harpoons out on different targets all across the board. Gunboats are now opening fire. One of our ships is freaking out about these missiles. He's calling Vampire. The Adams is launching defensive missiles at the Sacramento's Sea Sparrows. Uh-oh. Harpoon going for a friendly. Oh, that was extremely close. So yeah, those harpoons, they will... they know where they're going, they just don't tell you until it's too late. Alright, we're opening up, guns free. Offering fire support to for our gunboats. Big hit on the Project 183, it has been neutralized. Looks like 4 contacts are down. And we're engaging with missiles quite freely now. All of our gunboats are weapons free. They have short range, so I feel safe to do that. Bring everyone to flank ahead, to bring them around this formation, try and cut them off. And we will drive these gunboats up the center and engage the left flank. Oh, we have torpedoes in the water. Fish in the water. Fish in the water. Oh dear. Dropping noisemakers. I'm not sure what type of torpedo, what type of tracking this has. It might be a straight running fish, but if it's acoustic, we have noisemakers in the water. And we're going to launch counter Mark 46s. We cannot risk losing the convoy to a rogue torpedo. So we're going to launch Mark 46s to try and intercept those torpedoes. 2 each. 10 seconds apart. If the first ones miss, oh, looks good. Looks good. I think the enemy torpedoes have detonated. Yes. Confirmed underwater detonations. Now we have rogue Mark 46s. Uh-oh. 46s with no target. That might be dangerous. We have more fish in the water. Soviet 53, 56 torpedoes. We have more coming in at 290. Uh-oh. So we're launching counter torpedoes again. Cannot take a risk here. Switching back to... just doing a single ping there with active sonar just to see if we can catch those fish again. And we're launching noisemakers. In terms of torpedo identification, I'm still a noob at that. But it's better to be safe than sorry. So doing a quick sprint here with the Adams to get her out of the way. And we need to bring King up here as well. We still have contact sound in the water. It's probably a bit loud though at the moment. Just got to keep our gunboats engaged. We've sort of managed to corral these PT boats and stop them from going out wide to flank us. We didn't want them coming in broadside to us. And we're dumping more noisemakers now to make sure that those torpedoes have something to go for other than a ship. Our second volley of defensive torpedoes is still heading towards the area where the torpedoes were detected, and we have some kind of signature coming from underwater. I'm not sure if that's us picking up our own noisemakers. At the moment we have full air search radar and surface search radar on. We're full hot, so it doesn't matter so much. Just keeping an eye on these torpedoes. We don't want them to hit any of our own vessels. That would be bad. Now, when I built this mission, I tried to make it so that it wasn't too taxing, but it makes sure that you experience all of the little things that you need to. So, if the gunboats are in the fight with the 25mm armed boats, they'll take some damage, but they won't necessarily be destroyed straight away, so you'll be able to practice with damage control. We have air threats supposedly flying around. But we have enough firepower to deal with everything if we're frugal with our ammunition. Alright, we are launching bulldogs on the two targets closest to our gunboats. Opening fire on the other. Alright, SM1's missed. Contact 7001 has been knocked down. Those Mark 46s are still circling, hungry for something to destroy. We have to steer clear of that zone with the fleet. Oh, we have more contacts on the board. Another formation of line abreast boats. So we're going to drop down to MCON. In the last video I called it emergency communication for some idiot reason. I was so excited to be playing this game. But missions control means to silence the ship. I think I explained it right, I just called it the wrong thing. It's one of those things when you're recording and playing is a whole different kettle of fish sometimes. The gunboats have done a fantastic job. I don't think we took any damage. We kept them at arm's length, giving the Adams enough time to knock out the dangerous targets, and also gave the torpedo boats something else to launch their torpedoes at. That's why we put the DD at the front of the formation. Present a dangerous target that they would want to destroy. Take their eyes off their main objective. Alright, try and silence that last boat. We have another formation inbound. The fishermen, they got a bit of a show this morning. We managed to keep them safe. So when the game releases, I will put this mission wherever it is that they're going to be put for everyone to play on Steam somewhere. But it's not over yet. We still have a long way to get the chicken tenders to their destination. Gunboats are engaged at max range, trying to finish off this torpedo boat that is suffering from a major fire. And it looks like we have some time before the other formation gets close to us at all. Okay, so Adams is now going to cycle her way to the back of the convoy and work her way around to her station. She used up a fair amount of ammunition in that engagement, and we're going to cycle King forward, and King will replace them in that role. It'll take her about 10 minutes to get back on station. So the first of the Vietnamese boats took a pounding. They experienced missile combat. I mean, it's hard enough in a torpedo boat. Now you got to eat missiles too. They probably chose the wrong time of day. So it's a good looking game, and I don't have the best PC. It's a few years old now, and it's running really well. I wouldn't recommend making your missions much bigger than this though, if you are running just on the minimum or just above minimum requirements. But the whole sandbox nature of the game will be fantastic, because you could just, I think theoretically you could make a mission where you could sail from the US to the UK and all that entails in between, maybe. There doesn't seem to be a limit to the map size. If the devs are watching, maybe you could let me know. I do know that we're expecting a price of between $40 to $60 for the game, and that would probably be US. And from what I've experienced it so far, I would gladly pay that. I have a bit of a wish list that's building. Like I said, I would like to see some of the auxiliary boats, see some of their function. Like, I would love to drop barges with the last ship and just let me, like, drop them off and tow them in somewhere during combat. That would be great. Mine laying operations, all those sorts of things would be great to see. Mine sweeping operations. Covert drops with patrol boats at night. Policing territorial waters. I did come up with an idea for another scenario, and I've built it mostly, but I just can't. I haven't yet figured out the scripting. Let's put it that way. And so the mission is built, but I just can't figure out how to script it properly. Skill issue for the Vietnamese as well, as they furiously try to patch the holes the 40mm is putting in their boat at max range. So our convoy is making its way leisurely. Steady, 14 knots. That's all we're capable of doing in the aggressive class. And we are moving into 50 cal range. These crippled boats shouldn't be an issue, and we could use the extra firepower to silence them. And I would like to silence them before the next fleet arrives. Because I'm assuming right now, because those boats are alive, the enemy can see me. Like, I think, for example, if the boats up the road there were missile boats. I think they could be lobbing missiles at us right now. But I'll have to see. I mean, this scenario isn't totally accurate in terms of history. The last ship wasn't built, I think, until the 1970s. Same with the Sacramento's refit is a late refit. During this period, she only had 5-inch guns, I think, for defense. A couple of 5-inch guns. I think I'm going to form up all the patrol boats. Form up all the patrol boats, and then we'll make a big push towards these boats here coming towards us. The fishing boats are behaving. They are getting a little bit close to the convoy. Trying to bring Adams around, taking a while. It was going to take 10 minutes for her to get back on station. These PT boats are done for. Just surrender already, guys. Alright, we have an airborne contact. This one is at 35,000 feet, traveling at 540 knots. That's pretty high. That's cruising altitude for most commercial airliners. Of the period. Could be another buff coming back. But the radar ID says that it could be a bizjet or a commercial airline. So only our gunboats are still weapons free, and we are gradually telling them to hold fire. This one's weapons free because I want him to fight on both sides, but the other PT boat is just out of range, unfortunately. We have new radar contact. It's just a single aircraft. The biggest telltale is if there's more than one, you know it's probably not civilian. The little sampans against the rising sun. Stark contrast, the size of that warship. We've requested these guys to, if they're friendly or not. We have airborne contact. It's turning off the surface radar on the destroyer. All of our torpedoes are still circling. Most of them have destroyed themselves, but a couple still have fuel left. Oh, we are taking fire. One of the Project 183s is still combat worthy. I'm going to turn this boat away. Open fire with the other. I actually thought that boat was crippled. That's my bad. We can fix that. Turn the destroyer around the circling Mark 46, just in case. Adams has taken her sweet time. All the gunboats are waiting now for the rest of the formation to catch up. Formation still looking tidy, I just need to summon them back. The last of those pesky boats being taken care of. In the worst way, that Mark 46 just detonated. 3 more circling. Alright, I want all the gunboats back on station, please. We don't want them to get isolated and picked off by the fresh wave of possible hostiles inbound. And we'll finish this last boat off with a few SM-1s. It's not going anywhere. Can we get a solid hit, please? Thank you very much. Burning wreck. The last of the boats. We're going to speed time up now. Try to get everybody on station so we can proceed with the mission. That airborne contact at 35,000 feet is flying over the other formation heading down towards us. We have a small island here as well, so it creates a bit of a bottleneck for our convoy. When I was saying about other features before, I would love to see that resupply ship be able to stock up my ships with weaponry once they're depleted. That would be a nice feature. We have a land installation detected. Apparently it's a headquarters or a PT boat base. Maybe that's where all the PT boats were coming from. It makes sense. We have another airborne contact. 20,000 feet. Heading of 180. Directly at us. And we are about to make contact with this other fleet. We'll have to try and identify them. Radar is unable to tell what they are. And the fishermen have made it safely past our convoy. So far, our rules of engagement have been satisfied. This installation here on the island could prove to be dangerous. And we've picked up new contacts. 2 new contacts heading in a southwesterly direction. Turn on the surface radar. Try and ascertain as to what they are. Alright, we are going to make sure everyone's running flank ahead. And we are at ready status. Okay, contact 7053 is running very fast, 23 knots. That is very quick. There's a number of things it could be, but we aren't too sure. They could definitely not be friendly, or they could be some kind of fast pleasure craft maybe. We have a positive ID on 7050. It is a DC-10 airliner. The DC-10 will transit over the top of us shortly. We don't really want to be lobbing missiles until it's gone. Or do we? I'm confident that these will head in a totally different trajectory. They're in surface mode as well. Going to engage with some harpoons. First 2 harpoons are tracking well. Targets coming straight at us, so they present a pretty easy target unless they overshoot. That one's got terminal. Second one's about to arrive. Excellent. One good kill, so that frees up the left flank. And a second hit, yes. So we have superiority on the left flank now. We can sweep around them. But these destroyers are just having a field day. I could make it more difficult and just remove one of the destroyers, so you could only operate with one. But I think this is a pretty good shakedown cruise. You're not trying to fight contacts 250 nautical miles away yet. I'd like to play some pirate missions, attacking civilian cargo ships with torpedo boats, getting chased by frigates. That will be fun. We have a positive ID on that other contact. A much more dangerous foe in a Pettia class frigate, anti-submarine warfare frigate. Our gunboats just met their match. That thing will absolutely annihilate gunboats in a shooting match from a leisurely 9 kilometers away. The easiest way to solve an op tier for your gunboats is to launch a harpoon at this said frigate. They're sending out an absolute stream of 76mm high explosive variable time fuse shells. But I don't think it's going to matter unless the missile goes for the chaff. But it's going to go straight through it. This frigate offers a nice radar cross-section coming down at that angle. All over Red Rover for the first of the frigates. This wave of hostiles seems to be less interested in pressing a suicide attack than the last. And so it's still going to end up the same way. We have a screen of gunboats, but they aren't advancing fast enough to combat a missile-armed destroyer. Unless you miss, of course. 2 misses. God damn it. Fortunately, we don't have to pay for these missiles. The taxpayer does. I would love to see a persistent campaign that evolves depending on the strength of your task force. Maybe if you complete objectives, you can add ships to your task force. Hey, maybe that's a little bit too ambitious. Who knows? I'm just seeing so many possibilities. And having the mission editor straight out of the box is great. It's going to mean there's no shortage of missions to play. I know there are blokes out there that'll no-life it until they make the perfect scenario. He says as he sits here at 1:15 in the morning. We have inbound air contacts. Lots of them. Now, we've been at this mission for a while now. It is entirely feasible that the North Vietnamese have scrambled a response to this convoy. We have defeated everything they've thrown at us. So we have to be hyper vigilant. We haven't seen that amount of aircraft at all through the mission. That's a lot of aircraft. And we haven't been informed of any large flights of aircraft on a sortie or bombing run. The last of the Pettia class frigates is putting up some resistance. We've sent a harpoon to spear her ambitions. And we're also sending the 127mm 5-inch big hitters. By destroyer standards, by modern gunnery standards. Adams has flung her last harpoon. Will it strike true? I think it will. We have seen very good success with the harpoons. And we've blown the magazines in the front section of the ship. She is toast. This PT boat station is pretty rudimentary. Just some minor AA defense. as well as I think, a larger anti-aircraft cannon. Alright, that flight of aircraft is approaching. Fast. 6,000 feet. 500 knots. And we still cannot get a track on them. We have confirmation that is a MiG. Fresco, MiG-17. A serious upgrade over the MiG-15. And where there's one MiG, there was always more MiGs. SM-1 doesn't care, it's eating al fresco tonight. Unless there's a mass exodus of business class jets, they're MiGs, and so I'm going to designate them hostile, and we are free fire on them. It's a little bit inaccurate to have Sea Sparrows on this thing at this time, but we've got them, so we're going to launch them. I will probably remove the ammunition for them. Alright, so I am just designating all different targets so that we can just feed them missiles as they come in. We do not want to let them get close. We have SM-1s out, we have RIM-7s out, and we are ready for them. You can kind of ready up the tubes by designating the target while they're in range. Before they're in range. And the launcher seems to get ready first because there's a countdown before they can launch. So you do not want fighters to be visually ID'd because you're going to take 10 seconds before the AA becomes available. Oh, we just got a triple kill then. 3 simultaneous hits. So I have no shame pausing the game to designate air targets. Tally 2 hostiles. Splash 1. What about the other? It's right over the top of the gunboats. They do look like they're loaded with 500-pound bombs. 500 kilo bombs because they're Russian. Can we get this one before he gets away? We can. He's about to have a drink. I think we've defeated all of the hostile aircraft. No, there's one left. One MiG left. He won't last long, I don't think. Let's finish off this patrol boat. One each. One for the MiG, one for the patrol boat. That MiG's being silly. Just cruising around. We got him with guns. It's a waste of a missile. That was not a waste. Now we're going to use the 2 destroyers to bombard this small island and destroy that PT base. That means that they will not be setting up there again. Salvo away. Effective hits. Didn't take long at all. And here's a dead boat. I think that'll just about do it. Let's move out, and we'll set up that formation and get underway. The small bay to our north is our destination. As I've mentioned, there are no port facilities, but the Lash vessel will be able to take care of that. Get those precious chicken tenders onto shore and into a deep fryer near you. We have a few more airborne contacts. We have a DC-10 from the Philippines, and we have something else heading from the southwest. We have another mass of ships approaching. They all are traveling at a uniform speed and all on the same heading. So I'm going to make the assumption that they are, in fact, civilian. We were correct. They are wooden sailcraft, or dhow, the traditional Eastern pirate skiff. As before, we will set up a bit of an exclusion zone. I'll leave 2 gunboats behind to watch them pass. So, it's a good thing we left the gunboats behind, because a Russian submarine just surfaced outside the convoy of little fishing pleasure craft. This is possibly a major political incident. It's a diesel Tango class submarine, but we don't even know if it's Russian. It could very well have been given to the South Vietnamese. We did try to hail them. They aren't responding. And so we are going to commence anti-submarine warfare duties. Our gunboats are not capable of finding this submarine while it is submerged, and so we need to get the destroyers on station immediately. Unlike submarine hunting of the World War II era, we have a beautiful creation called the ASROC, anti-submarine rocket. Launching the RUR-5, it propels a Mark 46 torpedo well outside danger zone for a destroyer. In most cases, there are torpedoes that can get within an ASROC's range, but it gives the destroyer a real standoff ability, and that's why you don't see depth charges so much, if at all. Precision weaponry made them obsolete. We have 14km passive range and 7km active sonar range. So what we're doing here is killing the engine to drift, pinging, and then hitting full acceleration. And we're listening for the ping while the engines are quiet. Theory for me is that if the engines are off, you can hear better. So we launched the ASROC into the approximate range of the submarine, and if there are any sonar returns, if the Mark 46 can pick up any returns, that submarine is toast. Now, as we saw early in the mission, the Mark 46 will just patrol the area until it finds something that it wants to kill. The idea is to drop the torpedo so that that area contains a submarine, ideally. It's really, really basic in a complex way. Right, we had no luck with the first slot, but we've got a better guesstimate of where this submarine's heading. We're not going to worry about plotting and coursing. We're just going to launch all the ASROC. And we're going to saturate an area with torpedoes. If the North Vietnamese truly have got their hands on a Tango class for themselves, then it's in our best interest to get rid of it. If it's Russian, then the president can deal with the repercussions, and we will just, I guess, wring our hands wryly together and say sorry. Our Mark 46s are arriving. We have 4 out this time. Let's play a little bit of hide and seek. The loser explodes. These two, one high, one low, have found the Tango class, and they are going in for the kill. She has been penetrated. But there are more coming. She's still dumping noisemakers in a desperate attempt to trick these Mark 46s, but she's only moving at 3 knots underneath the water. So we're going to dump our stock of ASROC and make sure there's no evidence left of this little engagement at all. That was a lot of torpedoes. She got gangbanged. But all's well that ends well. The chicken nuggets have arrived at the base. Yay! We completed our mission. That's just one of many more that are possible with Sea Power's mission editor. I had a great time making this mission. If you got any ideas or you want me to play one of your missions, let me know in the comments and I will do it. Make sure you're subscribed, hit the like button, give me a comment, help drive engagement, because I endeavor to make the best Sea Power content ever. Until next time, Commander Tyrael out.